So we have some vocabulary terms that we need to be familiar with starting in algebra. So you know that when I ask you something, you know what I'm talking about. The first word we're going to talk about, and you have this in a Google Doc. You can type these notes into your Google Doc or write them in a journal because we're keeping a notebook or a journal here in class. And if you decide to come back, it would be great for you to have your journal. But if you'd rather keep it on the computer in a Google Doc, that is just fine. So we have a variable and we have a constant. And it's very important. We'll talk about these two terms all year. It's very important that you know what they are. Variable, you can tell it has the root word vary, so it changes. It is the unknown. The variable is the unknown. It changes. It can mean something different at different times. In algebra, we usually represent it with a letter, an X, a Y, a different letter, because it can change. X can mean 1. Sometimes it could mean 3. It can mean -8. The constant, however, what does constant mean? Constant means it stays the same. So it doesn't change. So it's a number. 2 always means 2. 5 always means 5. Always means the same thing. The number is the constant, the letter is the variable. So integer. In math, in algebra, and higher maths, upper level maths, you will often see the word integer. Integers are the whole numbers and their opposites. That would mean the negative numbers. The negative numbers are their opposites. So we would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3. So you can tell it doesn't include any fractions or decimals. Then we really need to know what the term coefficient is. Coefficient is a word we use a lot that students will forget what it means. Coefficient is the number, it's a number, so it's a constant, multiplied by the variable. So when you have a number and a variable together, let's give an example, like 4x. There's an imaginary multiplication sign here. So the 4 is multiplied by the x, and the 4 is your coefficient. It's a constant, but it's also the coefficient of x because it's attached to it, it's multiplied by it. The next things we will talk about would be an expression and an equation. I want you to know the difference between an expression and an equation. An expression has no equal sign. An equation has an equal sign. Hence the word equation, equal. So if it doesn't have an equal sign, you cannot solve it. You can't find what x is. You can't solve. If it has an equal sign, you can solve. And that's what we'll be learning to do. Solve for x or whatever the variable, the letter is, when we have an equal sign, an equation. So what's the difference between an equation and an inequality? Well, incorrect means not correct. The word in means not equal, right? So, inequality is not equal. What do we do when it's not equal? What are our other choices? Less than or greater than. These are not alligators, guys. Even though your elementary teachers probably taught you they were alligators, they're not because you don't know the difference. You just call them alligators. A less than is less, like an L on its side, less. A greater than has the biggest part first. It's a greater than. So if it has a less than or greater than, it's an inequality. We will learn that we'll solve equations and inequalities almost exactly the same way. So guys, this is your vocabulary that it's very important that you keep up with this because you're going to need to know what these words mean this year. So fill in your Google Doc or write them down and be sure you do the Flipgrid. None of you have done it yet. Follow instructions every day online. Thank you guys. Good luck.